Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about Little Dark Age by MGMT. If you're not aware, which if you are a fan of this type of music, I'm assuming you are because they were fairly big in the scene about 10 years ago. They're an indie-tronica, psychedelic pop, neo-psychedelia group. Their album Irregular Spectacular, which came out in 2008, was by far their biggest project, with singles like Kids and Electric Feel and Time to Pretend. While I didn't hear all of the singles that came off of this record, I did hear Handed Over, which apparently was the wrong single to listen to, and I did agree with most people that it was fairly mediocre, not really doing much for me. But I think that Little Dark Age was also released as a single and I missed it, and something else, so I pretty much am just late to the party. But the point is, I went into this album expecting it to be really good because people have been talking about it so much, hyping it up, and I mean, to put it bluntly, this record didn't really live up to my expectations, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong, I mean, there are still some highlights here, it's not so bad. She Works Out Too Much is such a weird opener for an album. Like, when I first put this on, I was so confused. I didn't know whether I loved it or hated it, and I'm still kind of somewhere in that confusion, but I think I'm leaning more towards the side of loving it. I mean, these lyrics are pretty ridiculous. It's very quirky, it's funny, I mean, they pull it off well. Also, this upbeat, dancey, very sunshiny production really works with the track. Another highlight is Little Dark Age, which comes immediately after. I really like this hard-hitting kick drum, the bass is super prominent in this track, the groovy synths really work nicely. It's kind of got a very punchy, new wavy vibe to it, which I really enjoy. The only thing that's kind of weird about these two songs for me is that from here, it just kind of does a total 180 and goes into mellow, dream poppy, watered down neo-psychedelia territory. And I mean, sometimes the record pulls it off, like in James, with the shimmering, pristine, glassy synths in combination with all of the reverb of the rest of the production. It all comes together super nice, and I actually really like the vocal performance in this track as well. I think that the deeper, more chilled vocals really complement the song nicely. Another song that kind of grew on me was Days That Got Away. I really like these layers of textures. It's very dreamy, it's very psychedelic. It's just a super enjoyable track for me. Another thing that I've noticed about this album on the whole is that it's so full of just ridiculous, straightforward and strange lyrics. Obviously on She Works Out Too Much, it definitely works on this song. But in areas like When You Die, I'm kind of just wondering what they're trying to do. I mean, I know that this track is obviously supposed to be ironic and it's very simple for a reason, but I don't know, I guess I just don't really think it's that funny. It's just when I listen to it, it's go fuck yourself, you heard me right, don't you have somewhere to be at 7:30? It's just I do kind of like the production on this track though. I mean, for the most part, it kind of makes up for it if you ignore the lyrics. I like the twangy strings in combination with the synth players. And I think it is definitely one of the more interesting and engaging tracks on the album. Now, time spent looking at my phone is kind of an interesting one. I'm sorry for all the background noise you may or may not be hearing right now, but I don't really have a problem with people writing songs about how technology is taking over our lives and whatever. I just kind of feel like this song, in the context of this record, doesn't really make any sense. I mean, none of the other songs have themes even remotely related to this. It kind of just feels thrown in for the sake of I don't know, trying to sound deep. At least to me, that's how it came across. And honestly, the production on this track doesn't really do anything for me either. I mean, it's honestly just super boring. And while I do kind of like the way that this record ends with, first of all, the track When You're Small, with its stripped back guitars and minimal synths, I really like the tone of this song. I like how it's more mellow, more low-key. And Handed Over, I definitely like more in the context of the record. But honestly, When You're Small just feels very underwritten to me. And I think that it kind of suffers for it because it's just not there's not much else to pay attention to, so it's kind of hard to ignore in my opinion. To be honest, overall I feel like this album is definitely not as good as it's been hyped up to be, at least for me. I mean, so many of these songs just kind of give me a vibe of like a mix between Tame Impala and Beach House, but just like watered down and like boring. None of the like melodies or hooks really kept me engaged at all. I'm not really leaving the record with much to remember or come back to. The high points just aren't enough to justify me giving this album any higher score than I am giving it. I really wanted to like this record better though, honestly. Like, I think that MGMT is okay with the dream poppy sound sometimes. It's just that a lot of these songs kind of just feel half-baked to me. I do like Little Dark Age a lot. I really like the additions of like 80s new wave kind of electronic vibes. I don't know, I guess I just feel like there are albums that pulled off this sound more effectively that you could just as easily listen to. I don't really think there's much that this record has going for it that makes it unique. I think I'm going to give this record a 6 out of 10, and for those of you who aren't familiar with how I rate things, I pretty much just go based on numbers 1 to 10 and then I do half points.
Hello, so I realized that my little outro thing was super blurry when I filmed it. I promise I'll eventually get better at this, dear God. But anyway, I just wanted to say thanks for watching this video, and just so you all know, I did abandon my whole plan of talking about all my favorite albums of all time because I realized that I kind of want to re-listen to those albums before I talk about them, just so it's fresh in my head. It'll probably be a lot more effective that way. Also, I'm sure that this goes without saying, but it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe, because I did just kind of start this channel. Yeah, I'm sure I will actually have a set schedule soon, by the way, but for now, I think I'm just going to start putting out as many reviews as possible that I can, while still, doing all of my other work, hopefully. Yeah, so just stick around. Hopefully, slowly but surely, I'll be able to do this as effectively as I can write. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. I love you. Bye.